All right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and all at a very affordable price point. Y'all, we've been doing this for 19 years. Many of you that are first listening to this podcast probably haven't heard of Schedulefly. We're a small bootstrap team. Um, and therefore we don't have the marketing muscle and big sales teams that a lot of our venture-backed competitors have. But what we do have is the number one rated restaurant employee scheduling software on Capterra at 4.9. We have a very simple tool. We have phenomenal customer service. You'll find my personal cell phone on 3 pages of our website at schedulefly.com. And we have a 30-day free trial. So if you were on pencil and paper, Excel, and you're dealing with all that comes along with that, the constant phone calls, the shift changes, the last minute fire drills, the amount of time it takes to put together the schedule, and then the thing is changing constantly, you can make life a lot easier. If you own a restaurant and you're wanting to save on your labor costs and make sure that when you're creating a schedule, you know how much it's going to cost you, you know what percent of your sales it's going to cost. It's a great tool. And if you want to honestly these days attract and keep the best employees, you need a tool like this. They want their schedule at their fingertips on their phone all the time. They want to be able to trade shifts. It's just that's the world of today. So, schedulefly.com, 30-day free trial. Check us out. Call me, text me. I use a flip phone, but it does get text. So, you're welcome to text me as well. And I'm happy to talk to you about Schedulefly anytime. That's it on Schedulefly. Let's get into this episode of Restaurant Owners Uncorked. Have never spoken to Jeremy before until today, and I have heard wonderful things about him, and I'm looking forward to this conversation very much. So, Jeremy, take a minute and introduce yourself.
Of course, yeah. So I've heard wonderful things about you too, Will. I really appreciate you having me on. Um, I'm just an old hospitality guy. I started at McDonald's when I was 15 years old, and I'm 47 now. So I've been hustling at it for quite a bit, um, and definitely enjoy watching the industry change and seeing the those that can keep people happy emerge as consistent winners. So that's what it's about for me.
Oh man, that is such a simple but powerful and potent and real statement and true statement. The people that keep people happy win. I mean, such a simple thing to say, such a challenging thing to do, um, but when done right and done consistently, that's all this is about, isn't it?
It is. It is. And it's even simpler than that is that the industry itself is about people. You want to have the best food, you want to meet those standards, you want, production times coming out of your kitchen to be short and quick and those are the steps to the goal. Those are not the goal.
The goal is to make people feel welcome, feel appreciated. That's both your team members and your customers,
Yep.
and just make them happy, give them a smile when they walk away. It is an
Yeah.
interesting, you've been through a lot of shifts then. You started at 15 at McDonald's. You've been at this for, so what, 32 years now, if I'm doing my math right.
Yep. That's right.
So you've seen a lot of changes in the industry.
I
Um,
have.
what what got you, man? Like you started at McDonald's at 15, I'm assuming because you needed a job and you just needed to make money or whatever, but what stuck?
Um, I think that what initially got me and then the sort of secondary hook was when I realized that this was a pervasive thing throughout the industry and it was never going to go away. And that's that, whenever I put forth effort, I was immediately rewarded and basically like hustle equals excellence.
Mm.
And so I really liked that the industry rewarded that that kind of just drive and intent in the moment. And so I stepped away for a little bit and went to college and um, kind of floundered around and decided, or rather didn't decide what I wanted to end up studying or what major I wanted to graduate with. And I remember I had landed at that point on mathematics, and I was in I don't know, mathematical modeling or differential equations lecture one day, and I said, I gotta do something different than this. And I remember leaving that class, and I didn't go back to my dorm. I went to the registrar's office and applied for graduation for the 2-year degree for which I had already earned the credits, and never went back to class. And I went to work that evening, and I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
Oh man, that's awesome. You got the hospitality gene, man. It's in your DNA.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
well, Jeremy, to that point, it is a it is a tough business. It when we started this podcast 16 years ago, uh, I thought I'm going to go learn from a lot of successful restaurant owners, and then I'm going to have my own restaurant one day. I mean,
Hmm.
I wanted to call it Ribs and Whiskey, which at the time I really liked ribs and whiskey. Well, still do. Don't drink much whiskey anymore, but it was also named after a Widespread Panic song, and I liked Widespread Panic, and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do one day. Man, it didn't take me that long and that many conversations to realize, okay, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I don't have what these folks have. There's something that they all share that um, I don't. I think it would just tear this industry could tear me apart. And I feel like it seems, and I was one of gosh, millions of people that it just seems awesome. It seems cool. It seems sexy, and but the reality is that that's true a portion of the time, but behind the scenes, that comes with massive amounts of hard work, never ending metaphorical fires, literal fires, 3 a.m. phone calls. It takes full commitment. And if you don't, I feel like if you're not really wired for it deep down and you don't truly love it, um, don't get into the industry.
Yeah. And there's about a million different ways to say that thing right there. I think David Chang has a forward in his Momofuku book where he's like, if you want to open a restaurant, do this instead. Get your family and friends together. Have them put all of their life savings in a stock pot in the middle of the table and light it on fire.
Ah,
Um, yeah, from a financial standpoint, it's difficult to get financing for a restaurant because it's a difficult business to operate. Longevity's not there on average. It's a series of thousands of challenges every day, any one of which could really trip you up, and it's a tough business. But it does have that allure. I think it's a business that involves the customer spending their disposable income in that mode that the customer arrives at your establishment in. It makes the business transaction of it kind of hidden, and the fun, sexy part is kind of floating on top of that, and that's what everyone sees. And so it does get a lot of people that think they want to do it, and they don't really want to do it. In fact, like you describe your journey. You kind of put the restaurant. I want to own my own restaurant. You put that goal at the end of like that's what you set your sights on. I was kind of the opposite. I enjoyed the working, and I enjoyed the sort of reward that I got on a day-to-day basis working in restaurants. But when I looked up at my owners and my operators, and I was like, I see what they're doing and I see what they have to do, and all the effort they put in just for somebody to come along and knock that little house of cards over. I was like, I never want to do that. I never want to own my own restaurant. And I didn't until 7 years ago. That was I was just about done working in restaurants. I'd been doing it for 30, almost like 25 years at that point. And the hard work was getting to me on my body and on my mind, and I was just like, I don't really want to do this. A guy had bought the restaurant I was working at, and we didn't see eye to eye, so I kind of moved away, and I did a bunch of side project stuff, and I kind of just cut out the parts of the business that I didn't like at that point. And I said to myself, I'll never do this. Like the next step for me is to own my own restaurant, but I'll never do it unless circumstances are perfect.
Mm.
And so when you say that to yourself, especially at the point in my life I was at, it's really easy to kind of draw up what that perfect plan looks like. You're saying that to yourself in response to all these, not that, and these things instead. And so when one of those projects I was working on was with one of my partners in my restaurant, and we basically just wanted to do this like experiential outdoor pop-up kind of thing, with pizza and yard games, and we wanted it to be mobile, and we really just did it because it was cool to do. um, and we were swamped. The first one we did, we were just swamped, and so there was, when are you doing that again, when are you doing that again? um, and so through a lot of iterations and other pop-ups, ramen nights at my buddies' restaurants that were closed at night, and like stuff like that, we ended up deciding to look for a brick and mortar because we had that part of what we wanted our experience to be like. We had that pretty well defined at that point. And so I
Okay.
was like, okay, I can check that off that list of things that I need this restaurant to be if I'm actually going to own a restaurant.
Mm.
So yeah, I understand it's very challenging. It's very, yeah, you have to work hard, but if you do work hard, you're rewarded. And so that's what keeps me coming back.
Yeah, the direct line between hard work and payoff. Well, tell me, okay, let's talk about that. So, 7 years ago, 25 years into the industry, you opened your first restaurant. You mentioned, it's hard to get financing. We can start with that. I mean, talk to me about you found a place, you decided you're going to do this. Did you all finance it yourselves? Did you get SBA loan or friends and family, or how did you get it going?
Yeah, so I was basically in this limbo state, working a job that was just enough to get me by while I was doing these side projects with the guy who would eventually become my partner. And we were like, all right, we've got this experience part. We know what we want there. If we're going to do this, we're going to need a building. We looked into like ship a container model, and we looked into all kinds of things. And um, luckily some of the folks in positions that could help us out were big fans of what we were doing with the pop-ups. And so they were like, hey, go talk to this guy, or, this lady works with the, council, talk to her and see what she thinks, and we got a lot of good conversations with people, some of which are still involved today. Um, and so we started essentially just hunting for I'll say the word again, the perfect spot, um, and some of those spots that we looked at were, like I said, empty lots, and we were like, we could build a shim container structure here. And then one of them, I think at the beginning of that period, it, there's this building, and it's a Conoco gas station that was built in 1938.
Mm.
So it has that kind of just before atomic era architecture to it, um, that kind of stuff. And it's right in the downtown area. It's just the perfect little cool indie restaurant spot. And right at the beginning of this window in time for us, somebody else bought it.
Mm.
And had been operating as a restaurant, and some other restaurant operator bought it. And we were like a little bit heartbroken. And so we kept looking and kept, doing our pop-ups and digging around for sites and seeing what financing might look like. And as we went along, nothing really happened with that site. And so we started kind of digging into public record on it and seeing what was going on there. We saw a little bit of stuff happen. We saw a dumpster in the little parking lot, and someone was gutting the place. And um, then we ended up just, after waiting for what felt like too long for that place to get open, we were like, let's see if we can contact that guy. It seems like he's stalled or run out of money or something. Let's see if we can't make a deal. And so we tried calling him. He wouldn't call anybody back. I knew the guy from, he had been a chef and I was a chef. We had done events together and stuff like that. And he wouldn't call us back. And I kind of got the sense that he was like embarrassed about the state of the thing and didn't want to talk to anybody about it. And then we found out that it was under contract. And so he had never called us back and somebody else had it under contract.
Oh,
And so we were heartbroken again, all over again. Um, and then a day later, my partner and I found out that we knew the guy that had it under contract and he was looking for operators. And so we got together and he's my third part, my second partner. The three of us operate Spoonbill in downtown Lafayette, still today. And, we got together, had some conversations, and he happened to have a background in commercial real estate, knew lots of people with money that were kind of always had their eye on that site and that kind of stuff. And we put together a team. The three of us put together a team of people that we thought would be good as kind of that first cadre of managers and employees. And we put together a team of people that wanted to, put their dollars on the table and make it happen. And, kind of ended up just continuing to check those boxes along the perfect restaurant for me thing. And, yeah, been open since November of 2018 now.
that's awesome, man. I want to hear about Spoonbill. Tell us about your place.
Yeah. So, it's really grounded in the popularity of that experiential thing with the pop-ups and the outdoor stuff that we did, um, with our side project. And, it's really like a, like post hipster vibe. Like so my partner, his name is Steven. Steven coined this term early on. It's like, well, what do you want the atmosphere to be like? And his answer was party forward. Like when you talk about wine or something, you say fruit forward, or, you're talking about you're going to choose the single aspect of a thing and push it to the forefront and make it about that. And so, a lot of people talk about what that thing is where you want to emphasize community and you want people to want to get together at your place and stuff like that. But I feel like that term, that party forward idea, really nailed what it's about in a way that no one else had before. Um, and for me, I was a chef, and like I said, I had done all kinds of side projects, and one of them, in the couple of years before we opened Spoonbill, I did this thing called Humble Fish. And here in Louisiana, especially South Louisiana, we have access to some of the best seafood in the world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, politics and market forces often preclude us from using that in our local cuisine here. Imports are too inexpensive by comparison. Um, the politics of managing fisheries sometimes, you know, it's hard to get that product on plates in your restaurant. And so this pop-up that I did was all about, like, screw it. I'm going to go get the stuff from the fishermen and do it at ticketed events and put the real thing on the table in this experience. And so I wanted to essentially translate as much of that as possible to the cuisine at Spoonbill as I could. And so I had these big dreams of doing, basically like a revolutionary, you know, waterway to table kind of thing, like contemporary seafood spot. And then we opened, and day one, our most popular item, still to this day, over 20% of my total sales is our burger. And that just goes to show you, like, you can't always tell people what to like about you,
Yeah. Yeah.
but if they like something, that's okay. You can work with that. So I like to say the burger is our gateway drug,
There you
you
go.
know,
Tell me about the
Um,
burger, man. I'm a big burger guy. What is it about this burger?
yeah, so I mean, kind of the same thing. Like I told you that in general, the cuisine at Spoonbill, at least what I intended it to be, was really reactionary to a set of circumstances. And so the burger is no different than that. Um, at the time and still to this day, burgers, it seemed that there was this like burger war in popular restaurant culture, chain restaurants especially, where the patties just got bigger and bigger, and your bun had to be some special kind of bread. It was pretzel bun, or ciabatta bread bun, or all this kind of stuff. And it was just like, why are you guys, screwing up one of the just like easiest things to execute a delicious version of by making it what it's not? And so we went really simple. It's like a third of pound patty, American cheese, burger sauce. I think we basically just like stole the recipe and chopped it up a little bit from Shake Shack's burger sauce and put it on Martin's potato roll and lettuce and tomato. And it's just like salt and pepper when you sear the thing. And it's just like, it's really, really good because it's so damn simple.
Mm,
And it was like, from day one, people were saying it was the best burger in town and like all this kind of stuff. So we got a lot of traction early on because we had a burger you could count on.
yep. Yep.
Um, you didn't have to worry if the pretzel bun sat out too long and got stale and hard. And there was just a lot of things that you didn't have to worry about with that burger. Um, and so I wasn't upset with anyone for liking the burger and wanting to come back because of it, because it gave me the opportunity to put something else on the table too.
Absolutely. Well, it's just smart. You have to just recognize the reality of the market and what people want. And so, yeah, I like the term gateway drug. It gets them in there and then they see what else you have. So, uh, tell me, I mean, are you able to procure and use the local fish and seafood? And that was a big part of what you wanted to accomplish? Is that something you're doing?
It is. So we early on we tried to do raw oysters, and you can imagine a gas station trying to chop up the square footage in a gas station to use it as a restaurant. The kitchen square footage got sliced off pretty quickly in that design process. Um, and so we didn't really have a lot of space back there to be shucking oysters all the time. And so we tried to do it. We just chose to do it once a week. We did it on Wednesday nights, and we called it Wednesday Night Raw.
Mm.
And we did other things too, like little seafood based canapes and snacks and raw bar type stuff. Um, and then um, about a little less than 2 years ago, um, we had been open for I don't know, six years, something like that at that point, and I was still working in the restaurant pretty much daily. A lot of times double shifts. 45 years old. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with as many kitchen miles on my body as I already had. Um, and so at the same time, I had some really good employees that were eager and, had been eager for a while. And so they had learned a lot and they were thirsty for more. And it was essentially time for me to get out of their way or lose them. Um, and so timing worked out and I kind of stepped away to more of an admin role and let those guys run with it day to day. And Tyler, our executive chef, he essentially took everything that I had done with the seafood stuff and said, why'd you stop? And why'd you stop there? Let's go all the way with it. And so he said, look, yeah, there's not a lot of space in the kitchen. That's a challenge, but I mean, what isn't a challenge? And so every day we do oysters now, and even during happy hour, our oysters and snacks are half off, and he really just leaned into it. And he's got a fire for that Gulf seafood thing that we originally wanted to do. And so I'm ecstatic that he's kind of developed his own vision of that and is really pushing it forward. Uh, Nothing pleases me more than to know that the restaurant is focusing on what I wanted what I wanted it to be from the beginning.
I like the mindset. Yes, it's a challenge. What isn't? Let's figure this out. Right. The obstacle is the way kind of mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. People, it's almost, we have kind of like a big window into our kitchen back there. So it's not like a truly open kitchen with like, meat cases as the pass or anything like that, but you can see straight back there. And so people like that. They like being able to see, oh, I ordered those oysters and now there's the guy shucking them, you know, that's kind of
So
cool.
tell me about Lafayette. Is Lafayette growing? I mean, I would imagine where you are. I mean, typically in the Southeast, a lot of the Southeastern cities are seeing a lot of growth. How's everything going there?
Lafayette is growing. Um, our economy is largely based on oil field. Um, Lafayette classically is where a lot of the companies that are either directly drilling for oil in the Gulf of Mexico or otherwise associated with that process, logistics and mechanics and all those kinds of things. A lot of the companies have their headquarters in Lafayette, and maybe not global headquarters, but this is like the regional admin office place. Um, and so oil, whatever the oil market's doing, plays a lot into our local economy. But in general terms, trending wise, we are growing. I would say along the lines of other southern cities. But what's really important about Lafayette is it is the absolute center of Cajun culture. And
Mm,
a lot of your listeners may not quite get what that means. Like there's Cajun, there's Creole, there's Louisiana, isn't it all the same? And it's a little bit different. So when I talk about Cajun, I'm talking about uh, you know French heritage folks that were expelled twice from France to Canada and from Canada to Louisiana, and then that mixes with a lot of Hispanic um, uh, settlers and natives and African diaspora folks and um, but Lafayette. So there's a lot going on culturally in Louisiana, and Lafayette is like the epicenter of that. Um, and so when I talk about, oh, I want this to be a new, you know, creative seafood place. Like even the things that I create and the boundaries I push have to pay respects to that heritage and the reason that I want to do that anyway, because I want to do it because it's right there in our backyard. But
yeah.
it's not like just that raw ingredient is in our backyard. There's an entire foodway, uh, you know, historically important, culturally important foodway that goes along with that. So I've got to pay homage at the very least, if not just point it right back out and shine a mirror on it to the culture locally. So Lafayette is it's a great place to be a chef, um, because there's a lot that we there's a lot of folks that have come and gone that we owe everything to, and to be able to pick up where they left off and continue to develop that food culture of the area and be a part of that is really special.
I really admire and respect your intention and thoughtfulness about your sense of place and sense of history and culture and marrying that with, what you're doing at Spoonbill, what you and your team are doing at Spoonbill. Um, and so you've been doing this for 7 years now. You got through COVID. Um, how is how is it going this year? I talk to owners all over the country and, get different responses. We're seeing more restaurants probably close, amongst our customer base than we have in a while. We're also seeing people that are doing really well. It's just kind of a mixed bag. There's a lot. It's a weird economy right now. What are y'all seeing?
Yeah. Like I said, our restaurant came from that experience driven thing that my partner and I were doing before we opened. And the great thing about a gas station is you have those canopies over where the gas pumps used to be. And
Mm.
so 60 to 70%, I don't remember the exact percent number, but 2/3 of my seating is outdoors. And most of that's covered, but some of it's not even covered. And so when COVID came along, we had that going for us.
Mm.
People were dying to go out to eat at a restaurant, but you couldn't eat indoors in that
Yeah.
in that first little part there, and then pair with that, a lot of our, we intentionally remained casual, party forward, as my partner said. And so a lot of our food was casual, ready to go in a to-go box and survive. And so, people were eating outdoors or they were getting food to go from restaurants. And so we were right at the top of the list for both of those things. Um, so I'm not going to sit here and tell you that COVID wasn't a challenge, because it absolutely was. But we were primed to survive it better than most restaurants were, especially little, independent restaurants.
Mm.
Um, and then going from that to now, when we opened Spoonbill, we also made some commitments that were along the lines of, this has to be the perfect restaurant.
Mm.
Um, I really, really wanted to take care of my people, and obviously that includes my guests, but it also includes my employees. Um, I was really disillusioned by the industry model of, you know, long hours and don't get to see your family on holidays and those kinds of things. And so we put some things in place. This will probably get pretty close to the heart of what you do on a daily basis. We put some things in place where, if you want a day off, you put that request in the app, and 99% of the time that's your day off.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I've worked, in the industry for a long time, and I always there was this thing where an old boss of mine and I would be looking for employees and be like, nope, can't hire that guy. He's in a band. They go on tour. Can't
Mm.
count on him, you know? Um, but we've hired lots of musicians at Spoonbill, and they take time off and they go on tours, and we deal, you know, and they come back and they're dependable when they're here.
Mm.
Um, and so like we essentially just kind of rejected a lot of the assumptions that the industry has on how to gain and keep employees, and just started listening and saying, all right, we want you to work here. What do you want? Um, and so what that comes with, the benefits of that are, obviously you get committed employees who want to work where they work.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, um, I've got to keep extra people on staff because I do give those days off. I
Right.
got to be flexible. Um, that's what employees want me to be flexible. I've got to be flexible. Well, that at the end of the day, that costs money. And so, part of that also is that we pay pretty well. I'm not doubling anybody up out there, but I pay, at the top end of the spectrum for my market, because I want the people that we hire and put the time and effort into training and bring into our family, so to speak. We want those people to stay for a long time, and they do. Tyler started with us less than a year after we opened as a dishwasher, and he's the executive chef now. And that's just the best example.
Yeah.
I still got people that were there day one. Um, but what that all means is that it's expensive for us from a prime cost standpoint.
Mm.
Gulf seafood straight from the source isn't cheap either. My
Yeah.
prime costs are outside of the preferred model, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
Um, but what you can't get what Spoonbill feels like to a guest anywhere else. And so those are the trade-offs we make. Um, and so, sales wise, if that's what you're asking about when you say, how are y'all doing down there? Sales wise are good. Very, very small growth, if not flat. Um, Costs are still high. They've always been high for us. But those are choices that we make to operate the kind of restaurant that we want to.
Well, there is a cost to constantly turning people over, um,
Yep.
a significant cost to having to hire and train and then lose and then hire and train and lose and keep going through people. It's time, it's money, it affects the flow of the operations of the business, affects the guest experience. So paying more, but having people stick around and giving them the flexibility so they stick around. Good long strategy. I mean, it's it's a sustainable way to keep the business, at the top of its game in terms of the experience for the guest and the experience for the team of making people happy, which is what you said was what this is all about.
Yeah.
You didn't
You
say it's
know,
about making profit. You said it's about making people happy. And
yeah, because then the profit comes.
that's
You know,
exactly right. It's
you
the
you've got to
byproduct.
have you've got to have butts in seats,
Hmm.
and that means not only do you have to get people to want to come try your restaurant, but you got to get them to come back.
Yeah.
Um, and by the way, that keeping people happy that extends to everyone that touches my restaurant. Like I have the absolute. You saw my Benny Keith mug. I have the absolute best relationship with my vendors because if I don't, I need a new vendor.
Yeah.
I want my vendors to be partners in my restaurant.
Yep.
Um, and I'll shout her out. Her name's Nancy. She's the best, food service sales rep in the world because she feels exactly like I do that it's about relationships and it's about like shared wins. And so
Hmm.
when I have that kind of relationship with Nancy upstream, then I can have that kind of relationship with my guests downstream. And it works the same way. I'm just in a different spot on the org chart there, you know? And so I just want my guests to have the kind of experience that they want to have again. That's all it is. Happy is just a great way to say that. People won't remember what you say. They won't really remember what you do, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Hmm.
That's a quote from somebody I don't remember, but it's the concrete truth.
I think it's Maya Angelou that said that, and they remember how you made them feel. Okay, so it's interesting because you've had your Benny Keith mug, and we talked about it before we started recording. So we were introduced to you by Carrie Collins at Benny Keith,
Yep.
and Carrie's amazing. Sue Strawn is amazing. We've had Sue Strawn on this podcast. We think Benny Keith is a wonderful organization. We've been super impressed with the way they view the customer relationship. And I get to see, like, in here behind closed doors, right? So I talked, like, we're very selective at Schedulefly about who we partner with, and because they have to have the customer first mentality. And when I
Yep.
see somebody doesn't, we're just not like that in. So they have that in a big way. And it's really refreshing and inspiring to see the way they talk about customers. So tell me about Nancy. Nancy's your rep there, and how long have you known her?
Uh, I've known her for about, I don't know, probably about 15 years. When I first met Nancy, she was working as a pastry chef at a restaurant that got built in the same neighborhood as the restaurant I was working at. And so we met at events and stuff like that, and we were colleagues, um, peers, I guess. And then, I moved on to other things, and she moved on to other things. And then when it came time to when Spoonbill became real, and it wasn't just an idea anymore, and I started looking for vendors to operate the restaurant we were going to have, I knew that um, I knew that if I got lucky, I'd be able to find a single broadliner distributor that really worked well for me, and I wouldn't have to spend my time shopping between multiple distributors. Um, And so I started looking for like, what do I want in that relationship? And I knew that I wanted it to be someone that had worked as a chef. That was important to me because I knew that they would understand where I was coming from. A lot of restaurant operators, especially back of house operators or operators that place orders, they know that you need that person to understand where you're coming from
Mm.
when challenges arise or products are out of stock or how whatever happens, because things will happen. Um, and so Nancy fit that. There was another guy that fit that mold at a different company. And he was actually the first person that I talked to. And then I talked to Nancy, and I never talked to that other guy again.
Mm.
Um, until he came back after we were open, being like, "Hey man, he literally asked me what happened." And I feel bad for the guy. His name's Greg. Hey Greg, love you, man. Love you, bud. Um, but I met with Nancy, and she didn't start asking me like, okay, what products do you want? She started asking me like questions along the lines of like, what are your hopes and dreams for this restaurant?
Yeah.
And how can I help you get there? Um, and so we hit it off uh in that relationship, and she's never let me down on that promise that she wanted to help me succeed. Not
Mm.
she wanted me to help her write a bunch of food sales, you know. Um, and I feel like, so I had a great relationship with Nancy from the start. Um, and then, as we go along and we get past year one, past year two, and the regional manager comes around and introduces themselves, um, and you see the guys coming in twice a week with the deliveries, and um, I can go on about the transportation guys at Benny Keith. They're the absolute best, but you start to get the feeling that pleasant experience that I had with Nancy in those first few meetings wasn't just Nancy. It was the company as a whole and the culture that they've developed there. Um, there's this thing. If you go in the door that a restaurant takes deliveries at, and you look at the bottom of it, especially on the inside where you're going to push the door open, there's scuff marks and kick marks and dirt and stuff from where people have kicked the door open or pushed it open with something. And I've seen over my career, I've seen drivers like take that dolly and gouge it into the bottom of the door to push that door open because they literally don't care. And I've never seen a Benny Keith driver do that.
That's amazing. That is what an incredible observation, that they're
Yeah.
that attentive to caring and being intentional and being thoughtful about that.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a statement. I know the Benny Keith folks will be listening to that. Hats off for that, because that's a phenomenal, that is not by accident. That is
Yeah.
very much baked into the culture there. That's really cool. I've never heard anybody say anything like that. I love that, man. What a great, well, this is important. So you have a partner who, you know, is really, it's like what you said earlier. If you make people happy, then the money and the profit will follow, if that's the goal. It,
Yeah.
I just think that's true in business in general. If you focus on taking great care of your customers and your team, and that's the objective, the dollars and the money is just the byproduct. But if you focus on the dollars and the money, that's a short, myopic strategy and often will not work. uh,
Yeah.
it's because customers understand that, get, employees understand that, and most people don't want to be a part of that. But it's pervasive. I mean, it's a common thing in business. But if you look at the most admired and most successful businesses, it's always great culture, focus on being of service to others, and making life a little bit better for customers and employees, and then they're very successful because of that. The ones I follow, at least, are.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
I've always had great admiration for companies that do business that way, and they're the ones that stick around. No doubt about
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. I'm at the point in my career where if I think about, hey, I want to go travel so that I can eat at this restaurant, you know? And a lot of people younger than me find themselves thinking that, but the restaurants that I want to travel to go eat to, like I dream of going to New York and having the Danny Meyer tour.
Mm,
You know what I mean? I want to go eat at all of those restaurants
yeah.
and just like do my best to absorb and soak in that culture. Because that's really like the origin of that model these days in the hospitality business. Um,
Yeah.
and so like I don't really look, would I love to go to Australia and eat at St. Peter? Yeah, definitely would, especially being a seafood guy. But I want to go I want to go get that experience that I know will touch more people.
Mm,
If I can bring that to my place, if I can bring a little slice of that to my place, somebody's going to appreciate. There's a guy out there that's going to appreciate me butchering that fish that one certain way and frying it in that thing and the flake finishing salt. Somebody's going to love that. But if I can go expose myself to Danny Meyer's restaurant culture and bring a slice of that back to my place, everyone's going to love that.
I'm assuming you've read Setting the Table.
I have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Have you read Unreasonable Hospitality?
I have. Yep.
Um, that one that's taken off. I mean, there's people reading that and all types of my friend's wife works in a doctor's office,
Hmm.
and they were all reading Unreasonable Hospitality recently. Um,
Yeah.
and I find it interesting because it's almost a weird thing in today's climate and culture where doing the things that I think you and I probably grew up with. I'm a little bit older than you. Um, being present, being intentional, eye contact, being interested in people, being kind, being thoughtful, putting others first. It, I mean, that's like unreasonable now. Yeah,
Yep.
it shouldn't be, but it is, and it's why that book is doing so well. But I mean, most of it's really just doing the things that a lot of us kind of grew up on, and it just kind of got you know over time it became where the bar is kind of so low that if you're doing these things, it kind of blows people away. It seems unreasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had that conversation a lot with folks. Um, by the way, I don't have like a sign in my kitchen or anything, but I do text with my colleagues and vendors and stuff, and I text them WWDMD. What would Danny Meyer do? And so like when we're having a conversation about, hey, I got this cut of meat, like what do I need to you're out of stock on it. What do I need to sub it with, or anything? It just applies to everything about your business.
Yeah.
Um, and so when we talk about like what's the norm now, and like I just find myself having that conversation over and over again with people. Like all you have to do is just be nice.
Hmm.
All you have to do is just put yourself in that guest's shoes and think about just for a second how this feels to them. And no one's doing that. It's just such low hanging fruit now. You're absolutely right. That feels unreasonable. That feels like extra effort now to a guest, not to me.
Right.
Doesn't feel like extra effort to me, but it feels when I do that, it feels to the guest as if I am going above and beyond.
Well, we're um, often so immersed in screens, and um, it gets harder to find people, younger people, that haven't spent so much time on screens that have those soft skills. I have 3 kids, and I'll talk to them a lot about, particularly with, AI and technology replacing a lot of things. Like soft skills have always been a very valuable thing to have, and probably now more so than ever because it's just more rare. And I can't tell you how many owners have been on this podcast just in the last few months that have talked about the importance of eye contact.
Hmm.
Just having to, train people, like, just learn to make eye contact and hold it a little bit longer than you might be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, because this generation has grown up not doing a lot of that, and, hold up during COVID and then these devices, and it's, I find it fascinating. Like when I'm walking around and walking down the street and somebody's, I'm like, I don't know, if I'm walking past somebody, I'm literally 2 feet from them. I don't care if it's a stranger or whatever. I'm going to say, "Hey, how you doing?" But people are
Yeah.
walking, they're on their screens, and, but at least I think people are starting to recognize it more now and trying to be more aware of it. And restaurants are just a great place that you can go and get away from those things and be with your family and be with your friends and have that human to human connection. And boy, if your server and your bartender and the manager and, are very dialed into being present and intentional and understanding the situation. This looks like a business meeting, or, this looks like a family celebration, and being able to sort of pivot and handle that situation, but still with that human to human connection. It's a potent thing. And people do recognize it. Like you said, that they remember how you make them feel. They don't remember what's special you told them about or whatever. They
Right.
definitely remember how you make them feel. And it's not hard to do. It just has to be done with authenticity and intention, consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this proves that out a little bit, and that's they will remember how you made them feel, but they probably won't even be able to tell you how you made them feel because it's nonverbal. It's not something that you can record. When they go tell their friends how awesome an experience they had at Spoonbill, they're not going to be able to tell them exactly why.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's a good thing because then when the friend comes and tries me out, they're going to have their own version of that
Yep.
instead of because if the friend goes and tells them about the fish or goes and tells them about this cocktail they had, that thing may not be exactly to that person's taste. They're going to come try that thing their friend was raving about, and they're going to be like, "What's all the fuss about?" You know. But if I made them feel great and they go tell their friend about it, and I make their friend feel great too, then I got two of them
Yeah.
with
Yep.
the same item. Every one of my menu items doesn't. It's not for everyone. Every single one of them is not for everyone.
Yeah.
But that thing that I serve on a daily basis to everyone, everyone loves it.
Mm. Yep. Do you, have you ever heard of, a company called Check This Out? It does
No.
text messages. Um, and so there's this dude named Nicholas Wicks. I love this guy. Um, he's up in, Bozeman, and he owns a restaurant up there. And I think it was during COVID, he was trying to get butts in seats, and he developed this. He's had a tech background, and he developed this text program. Um, and it allows, you to send like pictures of a special or something like that, but it has this built-in referral program. It's really cool. So it basically is, hey, we've got this going on tonight, and you have a referral code. So, like, if you refer friends or whatever, and they come in, then you get points or whatever. Um, I've been pretty impressed with what they're doing because it's a guy who solved his own problem, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
just some tech people that came in and got venture capital, like, this is how you should run your restaurant. It's like he solved his own problem. Other people in Bozeman were like, oh, this is cool, and they started using it. And now he's like, well, wait a minute, I might have a business here. And given his tech background, he kind of leaned into it, and it's doing really well. Really good one to check out if you ever have any interest. I'm happy to connect you with him, but it's just a simple way to, help bring regular customers back in and get them to get other people in the door. And like you said, when you said butts and seats earlier, I just thought of that because Nicholas always talks about, he's like, I just get butts and seats, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I love that. I love that it's, you know, restaurant operators nowadays have to pay attention to so much.
mm,
Um, and in theory, all this technology was supposed to solve that for us, right? That was the promise.
yeah.
I was gonna be able to go on vacation, right? Because I got this tech stack.
Yep.
What a joke, right? Because now you've got to like shop around and find your piece for this and your piece for that, and make sure they integrate, and then manage that integration. And then all of a sudden you got two jobs, you know?
Yep.
So I love it. I love it when someone thinks outside the box on something like that. Um, because too many of those solutions that are marketed to restaurant operators are just, well, ours is better because it's data driven. It's like, yawn, I'm going to sleep now. You're asking me to work for you. Like, uh, stop, you know? Um, so what you're talking about sounds like fun for the guest.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like slicing off the like fun, social part that is the last little kernel of something decent about social media, and shining that spotlight at restaurants and saying, hey guys, everybody just talk about your favorite restaurant. That's all you got to do. You know, talk about that thing that you had that you thought was really good and other people will probably like too.
Yep.
And then guess what? You get it cheaper next time. I love
Yeah.
that. That's so great.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want me to connect you with Nicholas?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do that. He's taught to Carrie and Sue, I believe, as
Cool.
well. I don't know what's going on with that, but I mean, Benny Keith has just done a great job with this host program, and that's again, they're cognizant of the fact that what you just said is so true, which is, gosh, I don't know how you do it. I mean, there's for every potential problem that you have that could be solved by tech, there's 1,000 tech vendors. Like, how
Yep.
do you figure out which ones are good? How do you figure out which ones you can trust? That's starting to
Well,
bear itself out. I mean, there was a lot of money in this space for a lot of years that venture capital came in because money was free, and it helped build a lot of businesses. But now that funding is dried up, and so the ones that are not doing a good job of taking care of their customers, or overcomplicated their tech, or made their tech, like you said, like where you're having it, like you're working for it and it's taking all your time. Like that's, that the market is starting to recognize that and, correct for it. But Benny Keith does a great job with that host program of finding, really good partners that share their values, and
yeah.
that they trust will take good care of their customers. That comes before anything. And I mean, again, I can say that because I've had those conversations with them, and I know that's what matters. So, um,
Yeah. You just use the magic word, and that's trust.
yeah,
You know, who's in a better position to vet 1,000 software solutions? Me as a restaurant operator, or the company that talks to thousands of restaurant operators and knows what they need,
that's
you know?
right. Yeah,
And so I'm essentially outsourcing the research process on that app to someone that's in a much better position to do that for me. And I trust what they say because they know that if they don't get that right and they recommend something that doesn't really work for me, then we've got a problem. And
I
it's not like I've known this person for a long time and they've never let me down. I trust them. It's just like in society today, we're distrustful people. You got to prove it out,
yeah,
you know? And that goes with any relationship. It goes for my relationship between me and my guests, you know? Um, Somebody's going to be like, well, how many ounces is that sheep's head? Well, it's 6 ounces, but no one really asks me that because I've never gone light on a portion, you know? So it's earned. And I think Benny Keith is getting that right because, some of the other guys have been around for a long time, and they've seen what's worked for them, and they offer a lot of things, right? But I've got vendors, not just Benny Keith. I demand this of all my vendors. I've got vendors that think about my business. They think about how their product is going to sell in my business. Because if you're not willing to do that, there's somebody that is. And
Yep.
we're partners here. If you bring me this product, I end up selling a lot of it. That's your win. It's my win too, but it's your win. So let's have a bunch of shared wins instead of you winning because I'm buying everything from you.
I think that there are, unfortunately, a lot of companies, particularly at least in restaurant tech, just as because that's where I live. The goal is, um, what they would say is stickiness. We want to get, more and more of the business. We want this to be sticky, long-term contract. It's to their advantage. The problem is, it's one thing when you're working with big, well-funded and well-capitalized chains, but when you're serving independent restaurants, and you're not putting their needs first, trying to solve problems for them that will enable you to serve them for a really long time, you're you're killing them with a death by 1,000 cuts. I mean,
Yep.
all the vendors that are out there, the goal is make the sale, get them in a contract, make it tight. I mean, there are companies out there that, whew, man, I mean, I won't name them, but I mean, there's one that this sort of all-in-one thing, and it's good for larger operators, but we have customers that are in lawsuits with them. I mean, they've gone
Yeah.
after somebody that closed their restaurant. Their restaurant failed, they closed it, and then they go after the person personally. And for
Yeah.
the life of me, that stuff, you might be able to get away with that for a while, but is fragmented, and there's hundreds of thousands of restaurants, and it's a very fragmented industry, but word gets around. And
Yeah.
I just I don't understand that, but it comes back to the fundamental core values that you have, and being honest and being trustworthy and being kind and putting your customer first and taking care of them. If you do those things, I do believe whatever business you're in, you'll be around. You'll stay around. I always say,
Yep.
like,
Yep.
there's no way I'm going to be a billionaire because we've grown through word of mouth. We run a profitable business. Like, I don't have what it takes to be sort of a shark and make this, like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want it, don't need it. I'd like to be able to sleep at night and be proud of who our company is and how we take care of our customers. And I think that's something that you share. And I think most, really truly successful small business owners, that's what matters to them. I don't care if there are a lot of unhappy billionaires. There are a lot of miserable billionaires. There are a lot of people that think they're going to sell and then go sit on the beach and be happy. But I always said, like, if you can build a business that's successful enough that you can make that much money, you're not going to sit on the beach and be happy. You're always going to want to be doing something. So
Yeah.
do it right, and wake up every day and be proud of what you do, and that's more important than anything. So I'm a little philosophical rant there, but, like, I can tell you share that mindset, man. And I think the
Oh,
companies that we
yeah,
talk
absolutely.
about, do as well, as does Benny Keith.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I don't know which one of those things it is that you're talking about that went after the guy personally, but that's that's the problem, right? Is that I know it could be one of a few, but I don't know which one. And the problem is that there's more than one out there. Problem is that that's too common. I feel like honestly, you're talking about how the restaurant tech stack vendors, they want to be sticky, they want to get people in subscription contracts. Um, what I feel like when I talk to some of those folks is their primary goal is the exit strategy on the business plan where they sell and make a bunch of money and don't have to work for the rest of their life.
Oh, 100%, dude. Yeah, I
You know
mean
what I mean? Like
that's what.
that's it. That's
Yeah,
the name of the game for them. That's what their sights are on. That's what they're working toward. They don't care what the thing is that they're selling. They don't care how well it works for me. They don't care what problem it solves for me. They just want my signature on the subscription contract.
yeah. Hmm. That's well. Look, and that is because they're backed by millions of dollars of venture capital that says this is the number you have to hit. That it's
Yep.
about the number, dude. It is not about like let's go help make restaurants successful because it's what
Yeah.
it's what we talk about with when I talk to Sue and Carrie. It's like if you're your sales rep, is it Nancy? Nancy
Nancy.
is thinking this way too. Like if we just help these people be successful in business, again, it goes back to what we talked about. The byproduct is that we're successful, but if we focus on them first, we win in the long term. And we'll keep winning and we'll be around and we'll stay around and that's it. It's
Yeah.
what is the goal? Is the goal a dollar amount and an exit, or is the goal to help people be successful and knowing that the byproduct is our own success? And that's true in a business to business relationship. It's true in a conversation that a server has with a guest. If it's,
Yep.
I just want to try to sell them as many things as I can, and because and I want to get a good, because if I sell more, there's a higher bill, then I get a better tip. Or if it's like, how can I make this family or this person or this couple's evening really, really enjoyable? And if I focus on that, then I'll be just fine, because if I do that every time to every guest, then those guests are going to want to come back and they're going to want to sit at my table. And the more regular customers we have coming in here, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is like get
Yep.
people that are coming back over and over, and maybe instead of coming once a month, they come twice a month or whatever. Isn't that right? I mean, am I thinking about it the
Absolutely.
right way? Yeah.
And look, honestly, for guys in your position in, restaurant tech, for guys in um, food service distributing, the name of the game shouldn't be sign them up. The name of the game should be keep them in business.
Yes.
Because it seems like their core competency for a lot of those guys is getting signatures. And then your thing doesn't solve any problems for me, and I go out of business, and now you got to go get another signature to replace me.
At 100%, man.
But
Absolutely.
if you keep me in business, at the very least, I need to buy food to sell food to operate my restaurant. So you got a weekly check coming from me because I'm in business, you know? And so there will always be, we live in a capitalist society. There will always be VC backed, you know, pretend disruptors that are just looking to, establish a model, proceed to the exit. You know what I mean? That's the name of the game. It's a churn. And there will always be that. But what that means really is that there will always be an opportunity for people that want to do it the other way,
Yeah.
because that generates the contrast. That's what makes it seem unreasonable to smile and look the person in the eye at the host stand.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep. That's exactly right.
it's like,
Uh,
by all means, do it the wrong way, please. You're
it, we
just
had
making me, you're just making me look good.
we had this story. I put it on LinkedIn. I had to. I couldn't resist. And the guy's name is not in the. I took a screenshot of this email I got the other day, so I took his name out. Does You don't know who it is, but I put it on LinkedIn because they have 3 restaurants, and they're down in Texas, and they've been with us a really long time, and they left for that company I'm talking about. That's like this all in one thing. And he called me up a week ago. He's like, dude, I can't. Like, this is. Can I turn my schedule fly accounts back on? Like, we are just. This other thing is way too. It's too much. I'm like, yeah, dude. Turn them on or whatever. And he sends me an email the other day, and he said, when I told our management team that we were returning to schedule fly, the room erupted in applause. Like, I mean, I could. It's like, Oh man, you can imagine like how that made me feel because this is a company that's raised like hundreds of millions of dollars and like has all. And
Yeah.
he said we got sold on like it's going to do this, it's going to do that. It's shiny, it's sleek. He's like, dude, I haven't even seen a human being. I can't even get a person. He's like,
Yeah.
I call you, I get your cell phone. So that stuff that matters, man. It really
Well,
does.
now I definitely know which one it is.
I mean, most people listen, they'll figure it out pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Uh, I just don't like to, I'm not gonna do it.
No.
But dude, man, Jeremy. So I don't know my geography well enough to know exactly where Lafayette is. I'm assuming you're west of New Orleans, but maybe closer to Texas. Is that right? Or
Yeah, so going west from New Orleans, on Interstate 10, about an hour west of New Orleans, you hit Baton Rouge. About an hour west of that, you hit Lafayette. About an hour west of that, you hit Lake Charles, and then right after that, you're in Texas.
okay.
Yeah, so
So
we're between Lake Charles and Baton Rouge on Interstate 10.
okay, okay, okay. So Carrie is down there, lives near
Yep.
there. If I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
Carrie lives a little bit west of here.
Okay. She's such a fan of you, dude. Like she is such a
I'm a
fan of
fan of them. Like I said, it was really refreshing when we started at Spoonbill and started our relationship with Benny Keith. That was really refreshing, and so getting to meet the people that kind of put that into place and make it happen on a day to day basis was really exciting. And it's never not exciting to talk to Carrie and Sue and Nancy and honestly anybody there. They just have done that whole, they've injected these ideas into their entire company culture, and it's really impressive to see it work.
we'll wrap this up. I want to respect your time. My favorite story, I will never forget the story about the bottom of the entry door where deliveries are
Yeah,
made and how that is so freaking cool, dude. Like
yeah,
that is amazing. Never would have thought of that. And what a great example of just a detail that you've noticed and what that means, what that small little detail actually means. Jeremy, this has been a pleasure, man. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on and share your story. We started doing this podcast this month, 16 years ago. March of 2010 was the first one we ever did. And I had
that's
to,
awesome.
dude, I had to beg people to come on. Nobody knew what a
Mm,
podcast was. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm going to talk to you? Like, who's going to listen? Who cares? Like,
right.
I'm telling you, man, this is like how people are going to tell stories. And so we would finally convince people. And now it's been great because we get introduced to people like you
Yep.
that,
Yep.
are happy to share their story. And there's nothing that I do work wise for my business any day that's more rewarding to me than getting to talk to restaurant owners and learn and share your stories. It's just awesome.
Isn't it great?
I got
We're
another one
we're
in 45 minutes and I can't
That's
wait.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we're special people, man. We're special critters. We're, the restaurant industry throws a lot at you, and if you survive even a little while in the restaurant business as an operator, then you've proven out that you're capable of a lot. You're an innovator just by nature on a day-to-day basis. You're solving problems. You're doing a lot of things that would make people run home and cry. So I love talking to other operators. I love being able to have those occasions to get together, whether it's like a food show or symposium or just going out to eat and seeing the operator of that other restaurant. I love those conversations so much. So I can imagine that your day to day doing this podcast is pretty awesome.
Huge respect. That's what I learned early on. Okay, I'm not cut out for this. I get that. Boy, do I have respect for people that do this because I recognize it's like triage in an ER every day. I mean, it's like that's the only thing I can think about where you've got so much going on that you have to keep your calm and keep your wits and
Yep.
take care of a lot of things. Is like running a restaurant seems like that to me. So I have like massive respect for you and for people in your industry, specifically independent operators that are out there on their own, hustling and grinding every day and just trying to make life better for people in their community. There's nothing more rewarding. There's nothing to have more respect for. Love it and appreciate it. My ask is if you would, I'll get you connected to Nicholas. But if you would,
Great.
whether you use Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go give us a 5-star rating, because the more ratings we get, the more this content gets put in front of, other people. And
You got it.
we'll stay in touch, man. Hopefully I get to get down there. I mean, I
Love to have you.
would love to come
Absolutely
hang out
love
in
that.
Fayetteville. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Thank you all for listening. More episodes coming soon. We appreciate you, and we're proud to have you as an audience. And also, for those of you that haven't given us a rating, we'd love for you to do it. I'm going to keep asking. And thank you. More coming soon.
Thanks, guys.